everybody. Welcome back, or welcome if you're new. My name is Erin, and I am the Erintainer, here to Erintain you. And what do you think that means? It just means I want to tell you some stories. We're going to react to some Reddit stuff. Maybe I'll post a sketch or two once in a while. My goal here is to just make your day a little bit better in whatever format I see fit for that day. And today we're talking about some plain seat bandits. That's right. It's something that I feel like is almost one of those situations where it's almost like seeing Bigfoot, where you wonder if it's lurking in the distance. Is this bandit going to pop out and demand your seat? And every time you sit on the flight, you're like, is today the day that someone tries to swipe and snatch my seat out from beneath me? For me, it's never happened. So every time I'm on high alert when I get on the plane, I'm like, I'm not nervous to fly. I'm like, am I going to have to confront somebody about something today? Because I hope not. Me and my little introverted heart would never want to do that. But it happens, and it happens all too frequently. And today we are going to hear about how a couple of people dealt with this little seat bandit. All right? And I want to hear your story down below. Has this happened to you, and what did you do? Did you go ham, or were you like, oh, okay, I guess I'll just sit behind you. Sorry, I'll just take the middle seat. Oh, oops, sorry, I don't mean to bother you. Yeah, it's my fault. I'm the one in the wrong. That's not what we're doing, okay? It's self-respect summer. Am I the a-hole for refusing to give up my window seat to an entitled teenager on a flight? A few weeks ago, I, 25 female, was flying home after a business trip. I had managed to book a window seat in the economy class for the 6-hour flight, which I was really looking forward to because I love looking out at the clouds and having something to lean on while I sleep. Same. I had had a rough week, and this little bit of comfort was something I was really looking forward to. As I got to my seat and settled in, a woman in her mid-40s and a teenager, maybe around 15, approached me. The woman explained that her son had a middle seat a few rows back and asked if I would switch with him so he could sit next to her. I felt bad for the kid, but the idea of giving up my window seat for a middle seat was not appealing at all. I politely declined, explaining that I had specifically chosen this seat for a reason. Good for you. Her demeanor changed immediately. She started arguing, saying that her son needed to sit next to her for the flight. She even pulled the flight attendant into the situation, insisting that it was unfair for her son to sit alone. The flight attendant tried to de-escalate the situation, asked if I could consider switching just for this once. I held my ground, good, because did you pay extra for that seat? Like, come on, you're not entitled to a seat just because it exists. If you're really wanting your son to sit next to you, book seats right next to each other. Like, what is so difficult about that? If I can coordinate all of my bridesmaids to sit in the same row when we travel for my bachelorette party, I think you can purchase a ticket for your son to sit next to you. It's not that hard, lady. I held my ground and reiterated that I had chosen this seat because I needed to rest and was looking forward to the view. I suggested that the woman could ask other passengers closer to her son's seat if they were willing to switch. She started raising her voice, accusing me of being selfish and inconsiderate. The teenager, who had been silent until now, chimed in, saying he hated middle seats and had never flown without sitting next to his mom before. Then things took a wild turn. The woman suddenly accused me of discriminating against her and her son. She loudly proclaimed, "You're only saying no because we're Indian." The flight attendant and nearby passengers were taken aback. I was stunned and tried to explain that my decision had nothing to do with anything but my preference for the window seat I had booked. The woman wouldn't let it go, demanding that I be removed from the plane for insulting her and her son. She started creating such a scene that more flight attendants came over, along with some curious passengers trying to figure out what was happening. One of the senior flight attendants asked for our boarding passes to verify the seating arrangements. After reviewing them, she confirmed that I was indeed in my rightful seat and suggested the woman calm down and return to her own seat. The woman, not wanting to give up, continued her tirade, insisting that it was inhumane for her son to sit alone and that my refusal was a personal attack on her family. Eventually, a passenger a few rows ahead who had been listening in offered to switch seats with the teenager just to defuse the situation. The woman begrudgingly accepted, but not before giving me a final glare and saying, "I hope you're happy making a child miserable." Lady, you could have done this and helped your son. What is wrong with you? Throughout the flight, I could feel the eyes of the flight attendants on me, and the woman's loud complaints didn't stop. When I landed and told my friends about it, their reactions were mixed. Some thought I should have switched to avoid the drama, while others agreed I had every right to keep my seat. So, am I the a-hole? No. And this first commenter has it right. They should have removed the woman and child because they were creating such drama, not the a-hole. What makes you so entitled to sitting next to your child unless you reserved the seat? And I think that this OP would have specified if she had paid for the seat, but it sounds like she didn't. So I think that you could have just selected, or I would speak to a flight attendant and say, my kid, it was a last minute booking that they were coming with me. Is there any way we can get a seat next to each other, blah, blah, blah. Because maybe they would have upgraded you. It's always better to be nice. You might attract, what do you do? You attract more bees with no, that's not it. I don't know what I'm saying. The nicer you are, the better the outcome will be, okay? You're not entitled. So, PSA for anyone watching this, you don't pull this stuff. It's $20 extra. Don't try to finesse the system. Just sit your ass down in your seat, okay? Thank you. Thanks. Or don't and keep giving me content to react to, because that would be fine too. All right, this one is Plane Seat Bandit finally happened to me. People stealing plane seats and getting told off for it are some of my favorite stories on Reddit. With the increase of plane seat bandits, and most likely due to airlines almost making it a requirement to pay for seats if you want to sit next to your plane partner, I've been half expecting to run into one since me and my husband travel a lot for work. Well, it finally happened and it was fun! This is amazing. Me and my husband always buy plane seats towards the back of the plane. As we stroll down, we see a lady with a young son, maybe 11 or 12, sitting in our seats. They were both deep in their phones when I told her she was in our seats. We had to wake up at 3 to drive to the airport, and we didn't really sleep, so I was not in the mood for BS. She smiles and tells us that they weren't seated together, so the stewardess told her they could sit here. She most definitely didn't. I smile back and say we paid for these seats, so we would like to sit there. She keeps smiling her stiff smile and points to other empty seats behind us and asks if we don't mind sitting in one of those, since they're already settled and comfortable. Would it even matter? I said, well, yes, since the plane is still boarding, these might be reserved, and it really messes with the system if people sit in random seats. She's starting to lose her smile and says if there aren't seats available after the plane is finished boarding, they would move then. I am not confrontational, and I'm usually a people pleaser, so I'm struggling to stand up for myself, but I'm so proud for doing it anyways. I'm proud of you! Meanwhile, my husband is struggling between boarding passengers to get the flight attendant. I sigh and with a half smile say, I'm sorry, but I just want to sit down and not stand in the hallway blocking people to see if maybe there are empty seats when we paid for our seats. And besides, I would like the police to be able to identify our bodies by seat number in case the plane crashes and our families want to bury our remains. You really went for the gut punch on that one. I was not expecting that. I feel like this is something my mom would do. The kid's face, which had been glued to his phone this entire time, shoots up in shock, and he looks between me and his mom. It was delicious. She has a bewildered look on her face. There's silence for 5 seconds before she packs up her stuff and pokes her son to move. I keep smiling sweetly and thank her and plop myself down as my husband returns with the flight attendant. I tell her everything is fine and tell my husband what happened. We laughed and I'm pretty sure the mom heard, or I hope so. I didn't look back, but I think I'm not mistaken of feeling a laser stare in the back of my head. Luckily, the flight was only 3 hours, so I didn't need to walk past her for the loo. Oh my gosh. I think that's how you just have to handle situations like this and people like this, just give them something so blatantly shocking as a response that they can't come up with one on their own. Because you know that this lady, I mean, she knew what she was doing. She knew she was sitting in the wrong seats. She knew she was gonna lie. She probably rehearsed in her head what she was gonna say or do when someone came to try to claim the seats. Either she was gonna pull what she pulled, or she was gonna be like, oh my god, oh, you're right, this is I'm so sorry, thanks for being so nice about it, oops-a-daisy. And instead you're like, yeah, well, if this plane burns crashing to the ground, well, I want my family to be able to identify my body, so maybe I should just sit here, right? Because I don't think you want your remains to be like buried with my family's plot in our cemetery that we already pre-purchased, right? That's brilliant. That's I like to think I think quickly on my feet, but that's really good. That's top notch. That is a top notch response. What would you do? What would you do in this situation? I feel like I would just like show them the proof and then expect them to move. That's what I would do. And if they didn't, I would probably get a flight attendant. I mean, man, now I want it to happen and I want to come up with something brilliant like this lady did, because that's immediately just going to make someone go, yeah, we'll move. Yeah, we'll move. Don't worry, we'll move. Well, that is all I have for you on this hump day, and I hope that you have a fantastic rest of your week. This video was a little bit shorter, but I mean, short and sweet, right? Sometimes we like them short and sweet. Anyways, y'all, please have a wonderful rest of your week. Do not be a plain seat bandit, okay? Okay? Speak up for yourself, all right? If you find yourself on the other side of a plain seat bandit. We don't like that, okay? You're going to stick up for yourself, and you're not going to just sit anywhere. You're going to get the seat that you paid for, that you hand selected, unless you're on Southwest, because that is just a shit show. Anyways, y'all, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you in my next video very, very soon. Thanks, y'all, so much. Bye.
Bye.